So now that we have the first part of the wheel done, we're going to focus on the interior part and create the spokes. So we're going to go down to our line tool, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And I'm going to draw one line, turn my object snap off. I'm going to draw a line from roughly here in the center up towards the top of the wheel on a bit of an angle. And again, it doesn't really matter what angle you choose. Maybe somewhere around there would work fine. So I'll draw my line right there and hit return to end that line. And I'm going to create another line that needs to be vertical. So I'm going to copy or offset this line that's already there. So I'm going to choose Modify and Offset. It asks me what distance I want to offset through. I'm going to choose a distance of 2, return, and then I select my object and I click on the right side. All right, so I now have those two lines created. So now what I'm going to do is offset these lines and then mirror them to the other side so we have an exact mirror image. So I'm going to offset through a distance of 0.5, and I'll click on the line and offset to the left, and then I will offset again. Same distance, 0.5, select my object and offset this one to the right. Okay, so I have those two objects now. So what I want to do with these is flip them over so I have a mirror copy on the other side. So this tool that allows me to do that is called the mirror tool. So I select the mirror tool. I want to select those 4 objects. So I'm simply going to click and drag around so I'm covering the 4 of them. Hit return. And then it says specify the first point of the mirror line. So for this part, I need to turn my object snap back on. And I'm going to click on the end of this line right in the center. And I'm going to go all the way up to the top and click anywhere on that line that's exactly on it. So any one of those intersection points would work just fine. So I click on that point and then I hit return. And that's going to give me, as you can see, a duplicate of those lines. So I now have that V pattern on both sides. So now what I'm going to do, I'll zoom in a little bit more here so we can see this in a bit more detail. I'm going to start to trim. So I'm going to turn my object snap off for the trim. I click on trim. I hit enter on my keyboard. And I now simply click on all of the parts of these lines below that edge of the little circle. So I'm going to get rid of all of these. Just keep clicking until they all disappear. And I can ignore the middle one because I'm going to delete that whole line in just a second. Work my way right across. Zoom in to get those little pieces at the end. Okay, and while I'm still doing this same zoom or same trim, I'm going to scroll out and scroll back in at the top. Oh, I'm a little bit too far there. The joys of scrolling and zooming at the same time. Okay, I'll stop there and I'm going to trim everything above this line right here. Okay, so I'm just going to trim through that space there, end my trim, and what I can do at that point then is simply erase all of the lines that are sticking out above. So I'll zoom out a bit so I can see all of them and erase those. So to erase them, I'll simply select them and then hit delete. Now, while we are working on these, we're going to draw all the portion or pieces of the bike separately, because if you're having internet connection issues, the more complex the drawing gets, the slower things are going to be. So I can see my internet connection is slowing down here just a little bit already, even though my internet connection is pretty good. I think me drawing and trying to record me drawing at the same time is creating a little bit of an issue. But I'll just erase these quickly here, or as quickly as I can, and then we'll do our array for the spokes, and that'll be our wheel finished. There we go, one more line. Okay, so now it's simply a matter of running my array one more time, and we're going to use essentially the same array settings we did before. So I'm going to come down to draw, sorry. I'm going to choose my array, and on my command line it asks me to select objects. So I will drag across my 4 spokes and hit return. Then I will select polar array. It's asking me to identify the center point. So I'll turn my snap tools on and I'll find my center point. There it is. And now I want to tell it fill angle to make sure it's a full 360, which it is, left from the last one. And items, I'm going to ask for 10 items. So that grouping of 4 spokes will be repeated 10 times. There we go. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. It looks good. Now, if you do want to get really precise, you can zoom in on that. And you see all of the spokes that overlap. If you want to go in and modify and choose trim, you can go ahead and start to erase the cross line where they overlap. Because in all reality, only one of those would show, right? Oh, mine's starting to bog down. It's not going to let me. That's unfortunate. I hope yours is working a little better than mine. And if it's not, like I said, there's options every day. You can choose to do the pencil and paper options, or you can choose to try some of these a little more exciting CAD options, but that's totally up to you. So I'm going to go back to my Zoom Extents. Take a look at what I have right now. So I've got 2 wheels. I've done them both a little bit differently, but it doesn't really matter what your spoke pattern looks like as long as you have 4 spokes on the original and then you repeat from that. This standard pattern that I did is common in a lot of bicycles. If you look at them, you'll see that grouping of 2 parallel, 2 angled, and then that repeats. So that's kind of true to life. Just random positions aren't going to work. So I put some pattern in it, and then we will change our title, and then we'll continue from there. All right, so there is finishing your wheels with a polar array.